Yes, this is 49ers Talk, brought to you by Big O Tires. At Big O, there are more than just tires. They offer total auto care services with a team of experts to keep your ride running at its best. Check out this week's specials at your locally owned Big O Tires. I'm Matt. Jennifer will be joining us a little bit later. This is kind of how the off season works a little bit. We're doing our own things. We could not synchronize our schedules. I was in Oklahoma City for a couple of days. I might have said this once or twice on the podcast. I'm a big St. Mary's basketball supporter, and they did not fare well in the opening round of the NCAA tournament, losing to Texas A&M. Also, I'm sure there are a lot of Santa Clara boosters who listen to 49ers Talk in the Bay Area. Santa Clara, oh man, what a performance they put on. Looked like they had that game against Kentucky won, and then Kentucky, with kind of a miraculous shot at the buzzer to send it to overtime, they lose. So we are in full March Madness mode here. Both of the Bay Area teams with exits from the tournament, but a great season for both of those college basketball teams. And so when I'm traveling back and Jennifer's doing her thing, we just couldn't make the pieces fit together so that we could provide you with a 49ers Talk that was put out there at a timely fashion. So yeah, Jennifer, we'll be hearing from her a little bit later. But as this day unfolds on Friday, looking ahead, we kind of had March 20th circled on the calendar as a day that something significant could happen between the 49ers and Trent Williams, because that's the day that he was scheduled for a $10 million option bonus. And so the 49ers had that option. You either pick up that option bonus or you don't. And it sounds like a drastic move for the 49ers not to pick up the $10 million option bonus. But I'll kind of go through this and tell you how I read it. So what happens is a lot of times this option bonuses are put into contracts for teams that have salary cap issues. And so a $10 million bonus of this nature could then be spread out for salary cap purposes over 4 years. So in essence, Trent Williams' $10 million option bonus would have counted only an additional $2.5 million against this year's cap. By not picking up the option bonus, that, as I understand it, that $10 million automatically reverts to Trent Williams' base salary. And so as a result, his base salary was scheduled to be $22.12 million. Now it's $32.12 million. So in essence, the $10 million, or it would be, I guess, $7.5 million additional goes on the salary cap of the 49ers for this season. Now, it's significant because the 49ers have the salary cap space to absorb that. So it's not that big of a deal because they have the cap space. And in fact, according to Spot Track, which tracks salaries and salary caps of all teams and other sports as well, the 49ers are $29.8 million under the salary cap. So for Trent Williams, for him, none of the $32.12 million is guaranteed. So that's an issue for him. At 38 years old and with the career that he's had, 12-time Pro Bowl player, 3-time All-Pro, he wants guaranteed money. The 49ers, they probably ultimately would like to reduce his cap figure for this season. They can hold on to that salary right now. So that's why the teams will continue to negotiate. Adam Schefter put it out there. His wording was that the 49ers are not overly concerned about Williams' contract and plan to have a new deal in place for him before the NFL draft at the end of the month. So, as we look back on what John Lynch said about Trent Williams at the NFL Scouting Combine last month, he said, here's some of the money quotes. He says, here's what I know. Trent loves being a Niner. We love having Trent as a Niner, and it's up to us to figure that out and to thread that needle. Williams, because of the circumstances, the age, and everything else, what John Lynch said was that there are some things that go into that when you have a player as great as he's been. He says, but I think we're all on the same page and feel very positive about where that's going. Now, granted, that was about a month ago that he said that, and there's been no movement of significance for the 49ers and Trent Williams to replace his current contract with a revised contract. The last time they had a revised contract was in the summer of 2024. That was a negotiation that prompted Trent Williams to hold out all of training camp. He signed right before the start of the season, and that was a 3-year revised contract for $82.66 million. So that's where the 49ers are now. It sounds like, both sides, or at least one side, the 49ers are optimistic that, they won't be moving on from Trent Williams, but there will be some salary cap gymnastics here with that contract. So again, Trent Williams, I'm sure, wants guaranteed money. The 49ers ultimately would like to lower his salary cap, because by not picking up the option bonus and having that entire salary or that entire option bonus revert to salary, his salary cap figure for this season rose significantly. It rose from $38.8 million to $46.3 million. So a significant increase on the salary cap. But again, something that the 49ers can absorb because they are in pretty good salary cap space. Just last week, they redid Nick Bosa's contract, or did a simple conversion of base salary to signing bonus. Therefore, that money can be spread out over the course of the contract. And so I believe that number that they were able to create salary cap wise for his contract was $17 million. So 49ers are in a good spot with the salary cap. And we'll see where this whole thing plays out. But the bottom line is, right now, Trent Williams is on the book for a salary of $32 million as opposed to $22 million, because the 49ers did not pick up that option bonus. So that's where things stand. The 49ers, I know there's been a lot of talk, and Jennifer and I have talked about it as well. The 49ers don't have a succession plan, or at least no obvious succession plan at left tackle. But then again, the more I've thought about this, I don't know how many teams do have succession plans at tackle or quarterback. To me, those are the two positions where, you typically don't have a young guy understudy. And then, okay, when the starter moves on, let's just move the number 2 guy into that starting role. Sometimes it does work out that way, but generally speaking, if you have a player who is determined to be good enough to be a starting left tackle in the NFL, he's going to be playing somewhere. He's not going to be a backup. So, right now, the 49ers, their options, if Trent Williams isn't back, and again, by all indications, all signs are pointing to Trent Williams playing for the 49ers in 2026. Beyond that, remains to be seen. I know he has expressed that he would like to continue playing for as long as he can play at a very high level, and Trent Williams is still playing at a very high level. But when you look at what the 49ers had last year, their backup tackle was Austin Pleasants, kind of a journeyman type of player. He did step in when Trent Williams sustained a hamstring injury in that game against the Chicago Bears late in the season. Austin Pleasants also played Week 18 against the Seattle Seahawks and in that loss. So he was the first guy off the sideline when the 49ers needed an offensive tackle. This offseason, the 49ers also signed Vidarian Lowe, formerly of the New England Patriots. They gave him a 2-year, $9.5 million contract. And so I mean, if you're looking for a placeholder type of left tackle, Vidarian Lowe would be a solid option. He started a lot of games for the Patriots at left tackle in 2024. And then even last season, they drafted Will Campbell in the top 5. I think he was number 3 overall pick as their left tackle. And when he missed some games, Vidarian Lowe stepped in. And by all accounts, he played better as a backup coming in late last season than he did, through that entire season. But for an see something in Vidarian Lowe that makes them believe that, he can be a solid backup. And, anytime you have a backup player, you got to be prepared for that player to get out there and start some games as well. So 49ers do have the 27th overall pick in this draft. And it does look like a pretty decent draft for tackles, maybe not just the slam dunk, top 5 guy, although, there is a possibility that an offensive lineman could go early in this draft. But I think you're looking more toward the middle and the late part of the round where there will be some offensive tackles taken in this draft, no doubt about it. And some of them are right tackles. Some of them are left tackles. Quite clearly, for the succession plan, the 49ers would be looking for a left tackle with Colton McKivitz, the right tackle, locked up for a few years now. Yeah, so let's take a look at the offensive tackles. There might be 7 offensive tackles, maybe not all taken in the first round of this draft, but certainly capable of being first-round draft picks, and probably all these guys will be gone by early in the second round. And so 49ers should have a possibility there if they want to take an offensive tackle, 27 overall. I still think for this coming season, where it all kinds of lines up for the 49ers would be at defensive end as far as the 27th pick. But I mean, I'm certainly open to the possibility 49ers could take an offensive tackle at 27, especially if there's a tremendous drop off from those first 7 guys to the next one. The only problem, or the only thing, would be where the 49ers are right now with their roster. They feel like they're in win now mode. And, they have made improvements in free agency that have addressed some other positions where they need help, specifically wide receiver, with Mike Evans coming in and also Christian Kirk coming in, slot receiver. So they've strengthened their position there. They haven't done anything at defensive end or edge rusher. Of course, they're hoping Nick Bosa comes back and Kyle Williams is healthy and he produces the way they would like, the number 11 overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft to be producing. So if the 49ers were to take an offensive tackle, unless they start him out at left guard and then move him to left tackle whenever Trent Williams is no longer in the team, in a tackle that they'd be taking in this draft would not sniff the field. And, so that would be something that I'm sure they would consider, is that a defensive end that they take, there will be a role for a rotational defensive end, maybe a pass rush specialist. So that's what they have to kind of figure out. But let's just take a look quickly at the 7 offensive tackles that seem to be kind of a cut above the rest. And the first one is Francis Maiocco from Miami. He could go as early as number 3 to the Arizona Cardinals. So that could be a player. He's a right tackle. He's probably going to be off the board. Spencer Fano from Utah. He is a very versatile offensive lineman. Some thought that he even has 5 position flexibility where he could play all those spots. They said the same thing about Dominic Pooney when he was coming out a couple of years ago. Another right tackle is Blake Miller from Clemson. Again, with Colton McKivitz under contract for a while, unless they feel like one of these right tackles could switch to left tackle, these are probably the names to keep an eye on. It would be Monroe Freeling from Georgia, Caden Proctor from Alabama. Caden Proctor, he battled some weight issues at Alabama, but he showed his athleticism, and he really had a good combine to open some eyes. And also Caleb Lomu from Utah, another offensive lineman from Utah. He's a left tackle as well. And then a young guy that's raw who played right tackle primarily at Arizona State, and that's Max Ihenachor. He is a physical, really fits the 49ers scheme as far as his athleticism and everything else. So if you're looking for an offensive tackle, those would be some of the names that the 49ers would be certain to consider at number 27 overall. Okay, so that's the situation with Trent Williams. I told you, Jennifer and I, we were playing phone tag. What's a good time that works for you? What's a good time that works for me? And we just couldn't come up with something as we're both running around. Me coming back from the NCAA tournament, Jennifer doing some real work over in Southern California. I also wanted to remind you that this 49ers Talk is brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Toyota, let's go places. And when we come back, or why don't we just do it right now? Let's hear from Jennifer Lee Chan as she kind of fills us in on what she's up to. And we'll also hear from 10-time Pro Bowl fullback Kyle Juszczyk as 49er Talk continues.
Thanks, Matt. Yes, I think there are a lot of things the 49ers have done during free agency that have really changed the team for the better. The one position that they were really needing help in 2025 was at wide receiver, and they made a couple of moves there that not only is Kyle Juszczyk very excited about, but I think 49ers faithful should be excited about as well. Mike Evans is the biggest signing of the 49ers free agency, and Kyle Juszczyk told me at the Fanatics Flag Football Draft that he believes that both Mike Evans and Christian Kirk are going to make a huge difference for that wide receiver room. It's a very young room. Now, Demarcus Robinson does have a lot of years in the league, but he doesn't have a lot of snap counts. Like, he hasn't been on the field as a true wide receiver one. Now the 49ers have a true wide receiver one in Mike Evans, a true slot receiver in Christian Kirk. And Kyle Juszczyk, for one, is very excited about that group and how it's going to improve. Just their veteran presence in the room is going to level up that group quite a bit. I did talk to Kyle Juszczyk on camera, and that interview will be up a little bit later. But again, having a veteran presence in that wide receiver room is going to be such a huge difference. They've been looking for leadership at that role, and you look at the 49ers roster, and there are leaders across the roster at every position. Defensive line, it's Nick Bosa. Linebackers, it is Fred Warner. Defensive backs, it's Deommodore Lenoir. On the opposite side, it's Trent Williams holding down the offensive line. He's been there the longest. Jake Brendel has a ton of experience as well. Behind that, Christian McCaffrey, everybody respects him. He's an all-pro offensive player of the year multiple times. And then Brock Purdy, of course, is a leader in his own right. And George Kittle, who will make his way back at some point this season. But the 49ers have made some significant moves, and not just on the offense. It's on the defensive side as well. Osa Odighizuwa, I think, makes a huge difference for the interior of the defensive line. I asked Kyle Juszczyk about him as well, and he said he moves different. He said, it's different than who we have on the line already. That's what Kyle Juszczyk said. And that, is Alfred Collins. It's who's coming back from shoulder surgery. It is Keon White that can play inside and outside. It's CJ West on the interior as well. They do need to do a little bit more work, of course, on both sides of the line, and that will probably happen through the draft. They still have 6 picks left. First, second, and 4 in the 4th round. The 3rd round was traded away for Osa Odighizuwa, and I think he will live up to the expectations of trading for a 3rd round pick. They needed to get a little bit more power there, especially after looking at last year's season. Only 20 sacks for that entire group, which is the 3rd lowest amount of quarterback sacks in franchise history. It was the lowest amount of quarterback sacks in the NFL last year. Definitely a point of needing improvement. And I think John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan know that. Also in Los Angeles, along with Kyle Juszczyk, is Kyle Shanahan. I'll try to get in touch with him either Friday when they have practice or Saturday for the game, which is at BMO Stadium in Los Angeles. Also, Robert Saleh has already told me he will have a little chat with me as well. He's doing the defense for Kyle Shanahan's team. Now, the two NFL teams, one team is being headlined by Tom Brady and Jalen Hurts, and the other team is being run by Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels. Now, Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels, that team is being coached by Kyle Shanahan. The other team is being coached by Sean Payton. Now, it said in the press releases that Robert Saleh is going to be doing defense for both teams, but I think he's going to be primarily doing defense for Kyle Shanahan's team. Now, I think the two NFL teams are going to play is how I think it's going to be. It's going to be a round robin game. But then the U.S. Olympic flag football team will go up against the NFL team that wins. Now, I don't know how serious the NFL teams are taking it, but I know that the Olympic team is taking this very seriously. So when we saw all of the players up on the stage at the draft on Wednesday night, the Olympic team has a completely different body style than what you see from NFL players. I mean, you see NFL players on the stage. It's Rob Gronkowski, who's huge. It is, Tom Brady. It is Ashton Genty was there, Stephon Diggs. It is Kyle Juszczyk. Just a ton of star NFL players. Devontae Adams is there, Luke Kuechly, Von Miller. So you've got these big guys, and the U.S. Olympic team they look like sprinters. They look more like track stars. They look fast. They look lean. They aren't as big. So it's going to be interesting to see how these teams match off, square up, I guess, on the flag football field. Now, it's a smaller field than a regular football field. BMO Stadium is a soccer stadium, which has a ton of grass. So if you're in the Los Angeles area over the weekend on Saturday, that's where the game is. But again, hopefully I'll get to talk to Kyle Shanahan about his free agency acquisitions, him and John Lynch. It's, they've beefed up at certain spots, but there are still a few places that need a little work. They need to figure out. They did pick up two offensive linemen, and potentially that could be a left guard spot. Brett Toth, he could be a guy that they could. Brett Toth is a guy who could potentially take over that left guard spot. They also signed Vidarian Lowe. He is a tackle. He could be a backup or a swing tackle for the 49ers, adding depth, really. Still no news on Trent Williams, on whether they're working on a way to get him to stay in the building. I think it's going to be something that the 49ers get done. Trent Williams has a ton of motivation, as do the 49ers, to get a deal done so that he stays with the club for 2026 and maybe 27 as well. 49ers also signed Nate Hobbs, cornerback, adding depth to the defensive back area. He is a little bit bigger of a defensive back, potentially could play that big nickel role. And of course, Dre Greenlaw back in the fold. He will line up as long as he's healthy. He only lined up and suited up for 8 games when he was with the Denver Broncos last year. He was there for 1 year after signing a 3-year, $31.5 million deal. He signs with the 49ers for 2026, $7.5 million, very low risk contract for the 49ers. But he will join Fred Warner out there. And stay tuned, because Kyle Juszczyk has a great story about his first kind of encounter with Dre Greenlaw when he was a rookie. Very fun. Why he has a little place in his heart for Dre Greenlaw. The 49ers also signed Corliss Waitman as their new punter. He's a guy who is going to take the place of Thomas Morstead, who remains a free agent. Thomas Morstead obviously gave a nice thank you to the organization for his time, his 1 year with the 49ers, which was 2025. The 49ers also re-signed Garrett Wallow, linebacker, who came with the club a little bit later in the season, and tight end Jake Tonjes to a 2-year deal. Jake Tonjes is a guy who, is going to take the place, or who took the place of George Kittle in 2025, and will again have a bigger role while George Kittle is coming back from his Achilles injury. Now, again, with George Kittle coming back from his Achilles injury, we've talked about it, how it's, Yes, an Achilles injury is one of the toughest injuries for an athlete to come back from, including like an ACL, Achilles. Those are the two big, huge, I mean, those are really tough. Patellar tendon, also probably a tough injury to come back from. But the good thing about George Kittle's injury is that the Achilles, the area of the Achilles that he injured, is right at the base of the calf muscle. So there's more flexibility of it there. There's less, it's less dense as opposed to the lower part of the Achilles. You can feel it on your own heel, right where it comes down. It's really thick, really dense. And if you tear your Achilles down at the bottom near your heel, you actually have to have a screw put in it there to hold it together so it stays in place. Up higher at the top of the Achilles, right at the lowest part of the calf muscle, just stitches are needed, which makes the recovery so much faster. So George Kittle is doing everything he can, obviously, to come back. And Kyle Juszczyk gives his opinion. The two are very close. Gives his opinion on George Kittle's recovery. They were together when George Kittle did his Football for Change event down in Cabo, Mexico. A lot of 49ers were there, including Trent Williams, Ricky Pearsall. I think Kendrick Bourne was there. So a lot of 49ers players were there to help out with that charity event. So stay tuned. Up next, my interview with Kyle Juszczyk, everything about free agency, what he has to say about flag football. Stay tuned for that. Kyle Juszczyk coming up with me at the Fanatics Flag Football Draft right after this. All right, we're here at the Fanatics Flag Football Classic with Kyle Juszczyk. All right, the 49ers have made a ton of moves during the offseason. What excites you most about the offense?
Oh, about the offense, obviously you got to look to Mike Evans first. I mean, what a great addition. A true one-on-one winner on the outside, a guy that's produced in the NFL for, how long? And I think that's just going to be a seamless transition, like just the right guy that we need. And obviously Christian Kirk's going to be a great addition. Some additions on the offensive line, and, we still got work to do in the draft. So I'm really excited about all of it right now.
All right, when we were chatting earlier, you mentioned a guy on the defense that you're excited to see.
Yeah, Osa. I hope I'm saying it right. But, man, just from even just the few clips that I've seen, the guy seems to move different. And that's what we need. And it seems like he's got some genuine power, athleticism on the interior defensive line, which, you don't see a lot of it with those big bodies like that. So really excited about that addition.
And a reunion with Dre Greenlaw.
Of course. It's funny. To me, that's not an addition. It's like he's never left, honestly. It's crazy to even think that we didn't have Dre for a year. But the amount of energy, intensity that he's going to bring to that defense, man, it's just going to be so awesome to have him back.
When you practice against Dre Greenlaw, what is the energy you feel on the field?
Oh, man. I have a soft spot for Dre because I still remember his rookie year, and he's trying to establish himself, and he had a good lick on me when I'll say I wasn't expecting it, but it's Dre Greenlaw. The guy can bring it. So you got to be able to bring it and know that he's going to come with intensity no matter what.
All right, I know you can't give timelines on George Kittle's recovery, but I know you're close with him.
Yeah.
How is that going?
He's been great. He's been in great spirits. He's constantly rehabbing. He's doing everything that you should and possibly do to recover as fast as possible. So I have all the confidence in the world that, whatever his timeline is, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't beat it. He's just that type of guy. He attacks everything, with a tenacity like that. And, I think George is going to be good to go.
All right. You mentioned Mike Evans, Christian Kirk. The wide receiver room was kind of depleted last year with injuries and whatnot. How much can Mike Evans and Christian Kirk change the offense and what Kyle can do?
They can change a ton. With the productivity that they've had, with the leadership those guys can bring, those additions aren't just about themselves. It's about, Ricky and Jake Cowing and Demarcus Robinson. As a unit, I feel like those two can raise the whole group. So really excited about all that.
I kind of likened it to, I know you can't compare Mike Evans and Emmanuel Sanders, but when Emmanuel Sanders came in the locker room, just his veteran presence.
Exactly. Bringing Emmanuel in brought Debo's play up, I don't know if Brandon was with us yet. No, he wasn't. But yes, exactly. Just having that veteran presence in the room can really raise the whole room. KB was in that room at the time, and that made him a better player.
All right, now you've been around Mike Evans a bit because of Pro Bowls and whatnot, so you guys know each other already.
Yeah, I've met Mike through Pro Bowls, at a couple of weddings. We, got mutual friends, and just a plus class guy, like kind of dude you want to hang out with, kind of guy you want to go to work with. Can't say enough good things about him.
All right, and then this flag football game. How excited are you to give more notoriety and publicity to the flag football game?
This is great. Flag football, I've been told, is one of the fastest growing sports in the country, and I can see why. Like, when you see kids out there, I've gone to a number of different flag football camps. My oldest brother is a flag football coach now for the women's varsity team at my high school. Go Cloverleaf. And it's just a great sport. It's a great introduction into the game. It's a great way to get women into the game. And I'm just really excited that we get to be a part of it and kind of usher that along.
All right, you just went through the draft. Who's the player you're most excited to play next to or with?
Yeah. I mean, they're all studs. But share the field with Devontae Adams would be cool. I've always wanted him on my team. So I get to experience that a little bit here.
Great. Kyle, looking forward to see you on the field this weekend.
Thank you.